You're listening to Offer Accepted, the podcast that's focused on fostering careers and growing teams in real estate. This podcast is brought to you by Pro REA Staffing, your nationwide recruiting resource for growing real estate teams. Hi, everyone. I'm Vanessa. Welcome back to the podcast. This month, we're talking about database management. Okay, now don't get bored and run off. I promise this is absolutely worth your time. We're going to talk to Gabriela Gil. She is many things, but one of those things is the database manager for Elite Builders, an EXP team based in Plantation, Florida. And she has taken their follow-up boss account and really maximized what you can do with that database. And she's going to share her 5 game changers, the things that she did in follow-up boss for her team that made the biggest impact on their success. And she's going to share her screen and we're going to get to peek inside her database. So if you're listening to this on the audio version, I will include a link in the description to just that portion of this interview so you can see it for yourself. So without further ado, I'm so excited to introduce you to Gabriela Gil. Let's get into the interview.
All right, Gabriela, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. How are you today?
Great. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, well, we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics. And I know for most people, when we say the dirty word database, they're like, no, I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to talk about it. But we're going to make this fun and interesting today. And you have such an incredible perspective and you have such a track record in this area. And I'm so excited to pick your brain and share your knowledge with everyone. So thank you.
You're welcome.
So actually, before we get into that, I'd love to get just like a little bit of background from you. So let's talk about when and how you joined Elite Builders, because you have an interesting background.
Yes. So since 2009, I had a career in museums. I have a master's in museum studies, and I dedicated myself to managing large art collections. And the way we did that, we had very, very intricate and robust databases. So imagine every object has a number and has a location and has a history of where it's traveled around the world. And we can't keep it all in our brains, right? And so we used these really great databases. And during COVID, the nonprofit industry shifted quite a bit. And my sister at that moment asked me to join her real estate team. She said, well, I just got this new database and we're using it, but we're not really using it to its full capacity. What do you think about joining the team and helping us manage it? And I thought, oh, that sounds like my jam. So I took a risk. I quit my job that I had been doing for 15 years and joined the real estate business. So that's kind of my background. It's been almost a year and a half since I joined them, and we've made quite a bit of progress on their database.
Okay, so let's talk about the database. You're using Follow Up Boss. Talk to me about some of the pros and cons of Follow Up Boss.
So Follow Up Boss is really user-friendly, and I think that is a really great asset for most agents because not everybody is tech savvy or willing or have the time really to learn all the intricacies of the database. So user friendly, I think, is the most important part of Follow Up Boss. The second part is that it's an open API system, which means you can really build your business on the CRM. And a lot of people don't think about it that way. They think about, well, this is an organizational tool, but really you can build your business on Follow Up Boss. And we can kind of talk a little bit about that. Some cons, I think with everything technical, it's a little bit of time to get used to. And it can be very overwhelming. So I always tell agents, do one new thing at a time. And then when you feel comfortable with that new thing that you've implemented, add the next thing so that it's not so overwhelming.
Okay. And I love that this idea of being able to build your whole business in your database. And yes, if we can have a central location where everything's interconnected and we're not double, triple entering things or going to different places to find information. That makes our lives so much easier and so much more efficient. And as a recruiter, I'm always talking to people about how start with your systems, create as much leverage as you can with your systems before you start adding people. And if you can integrate your business into one place, you can go farther on your own before you need to start bringing people into your business to support you. However, if you can get someone to help you with your database, and if you do nothing else but pay somebody to help you with your database, I'd say that is a fantastic use of your time and money, because this is the lifeblood of your business. And if you can set this up right and really get it working for you, and if you have, a VA who's just entering the data for you, just to make sure you're actually using it, this is the thing that will give you so much leverage. Would you agree?
Yes. And just to add to that, the agents on our team, they are very much focused on prospecting, getting new business, negotiating deals. They really do not handle, I would say, any of the admin parts of the process. And so that is kind of the goal for everyone. I mean, any new agents and agents that feel like they can do it all, they'll get to a point where they can't. So, especially if you're selling real estate at high volume. So, definitely set up your database so that people can help you.
Perfect. Okay, so let's dig in. So as you're pulling that up, and you should be able to share your screen now.
Okay.
Tell me what the database was like when you got there. Let's talk about the before and after.
So, we had a lot of different pieces of information in different locations. We had the team kind of working remotely and not really knowing what they did on a daily basis. And we implemented a few new things that kind of were game changers for the business. So I'm going to go in and show you kind of the 5 game changers that we implemented, and they're kind of fun as well. So just to give you an idea of a few things that we did, I'm going to jump right in. So the first thing that we did was we implemented what was called the lead flow. And the lead flow are any of these leads that agents are either purchasing or getting from their website, but we added them directly to the database. And in doing so, you can add campaigns directly to them. So once a lead pops in, they get a text message that says, "Hey, I received your inquiry," or "I saw you were on my website. What's a good time to chat? Mornings or afternoons?" Something very simple. And if they don't respond, they get a drip of emails. And the really great thing that we implemented was using BombBomb. So let's see, I can show you kind of what it looks like. So here's our top agents in the email campaign. And he has put in one of these BombBomb videos in all of his campaign. And really, it stands out because people love seeing face, you're a real person. And he just says, "Hey, it's Erin. I just want to put a face to the name. I got your inquiry. I'm looking forward to helping you achieve your real estate goals." Something very simple. And you can see that people open them, people click on them, people reply. So the BombBomb videos are really successful, and it's an integration. Let me go on to my page. It's an integration that you can put directly into the email. So you just click on the BombBomb video and then you're all set to go. So that would be number 1. And then the second thing that we implemented that was a game changer was all of our SOPs. Anything that you do on the daily, whether it's in the transaction, setting appointments, whatever you do in the business. For us, we have a coaching business as well. So anytime somebody is a podcast guest, we have a checklist for that. Somebody's onboarded onto the team. Anything that you can think of that you physically do, write it down on a piece of paper in a Word document And instead of using Trello or another system, we implemented it directly into Follow Up Boss. So for the transaction, once you change the stage in Follow Up Boss, let's see, let's go to active client. You'll see all the set of tasks pop up on the right. And we have organized them for our operation manager and our CC, which is our client care coordinator. So now, if you're hiring someone new or you're training someone new, you can have tasks that they can go in and check off as they complete each task. They'll disappear, so you no longer have to micromanage them because you can see what has been done and what still needs to be completed, which is great. And then at the end of all of our checklists, we make sure to complete the checklist and change the stage to pending. And so you'll get a new checklist for every single part of the transaction, and everyone can be on board and know what's going on.
Beautiful. And it's connected to that client's contact, and it's synced to the user who is responsible for doing the tasks. So it's totally transparent and fully connected.
Exactly. So these SOPs, they might take a little bit of time to create, putting it all down on paper. And we set it up as an action plan triggered by a stage change. But you can trigger these lists with a tag. And they're really great because now, if you're selling at high volume, you don't have to remember, what did I need to do for that person? Or what still needs to be completed for this other person? It's a game changer for us.
Are you able to pull up outstanding tasks or past due tasks in sort of a report format?
You are, if you go to this task toolbar at the top, it will show you all the outstanding tasks, but that can be very overwhelming. I like to use them directly on the client profile page. So for example, if you go to people, here's another game changer, is creating these smart lists. So for example, these are kind of groups that can dictate your workflow on the daily. So I like to number them. So the first thing you do as an agent, you wake up, you do your workout, you drink your coffee, and then you go to smart list group number 1, which is today's leads. That's who I'm going to call first. And then maybe my second group are leads that came in that week that didn't respond. That's my group 2. Then maybe I want to go into my nurtures. And then we deal a lot with probate. So we've created groups for all of our probate by county. But you can see that I make groups for absolutely everything.
Wow, yes.
I mean, we have a 20,000 clients in our database. Imagine if I do not organize them into these smart lists are just filtered out. So you can filter by tag, stage changes, sources. And so that kind of leads me to your last question on the tasks. So let's say this group were my active and pending. I can go in and go through my tasks just by going through this group, by kind of going through them this way and seeing all the outstanding tasks.
Okay.
So
Perfect.
that's how I would do that.
So it's essentially like touching every file, like we used to do back in the day when we had paper folders. So you could pull up your list of pendings or listings or whatever and just click through all your active files and just have an eye on it every day.
Exactly. So that leads us to our fourth game changer. Let's go back to my profile. So we have integrated appreciation marketing directly into our database. And this is kind of what we talked about before, building your business into the database. So a lot of agents send gifts to their clients through the transaction, but sometimes they're shopping, they're doing handwritten notes. It takes up a lot of time. So when you're selling real estate at a really high volume, this company called AM cards, and there are different companies. I'm not saying that this is, the only one, but this is the one that we use. It integrates directly. And so we can create all sorts of templates. So, for example, probate out of town, new listing, you kind of create a little message. There's the front of the card, and you can add gifts. The Starbucks, charcuterie boards, all sorts of gifts. And all you need is a full address with a zip code in the client profile. And you send the card away. The company will send the gift and the card directly to your client. And it's so easy.
Nice.
Yes. So that's another game changer. AM cards, appreciation marketing. It also ties into how we ask our clients for reviews at the end. So in this day and age, from the way we choose restaurants to the way we choose real estate agents, we use Google to really search up and do our due diligence on all of the things that we do on the daily. And so it's really important for our business to ask for reviews. And so after our clients receive their gifts at the end of the transaction, I give them a call. I say, "Did you love the brownies we sent you?" They're like, "Yes, we ate them for breakfast. They were delicious." And then I say, "Great. Would you recommend us to your friends and family?" "Of course we would." And then I ask them for a review.
Beautiful.
And yes, it's kind of a part of our SOP. It works. And that way we can really build those reviews that help our business.
Fantastic. Okay.
Okay, so that leaves us to our fifth game changer. And this one's kind of fun. So we onboarded one new agent directly on our team. We have a lot of partner agents, but we have one agent that's using our database. And something that we implemented for him were scripts. So we have put in all the scripts into Follow Up Boss, and they generate with a tag. So let's see if I can take off one of the tags and reinstate it and see if it works. There we go. So if you're a new agent, right, and you're still working on what you need to say and how to say it, this is a really great way to kind of calm those nerves when you're calling a client. And having it directly in the database is great because when I talk to clients, I like to type in notes and things as we're talking. I mean, other people are standing and kind of having a conversation that way, but I'm at my desk, we're chatting, I'm taking notes, but then I can also have my script. I put these scripts in for our client care coordinator. Every time she calls someone, she can bring up the script and know what to say and how to say it. And she can take notes so that everyone on the team knows what was said and how to say it. So I remember the first time I called a client, Aaron told me, "Hey, call this client. We just closed," and asked them for a review. And so gave her a call and I said, "Congratulations on your closing." And she was like, "Well, my mom died. So it's not really, a happy moment." And I was like, wow, I would have really loved to have some notes on the page that would have let me know that her mother passed away and what was going on in the transaction. So really, it is kind of changing the culture of how your team works and how you use the database so that everyone is set up for success. Not just the agents, but everybody that's helping you.
Oh, I think that's such a wonderful example. And wow, like I bet you felt like you really stepped in it. I'm so sorry. Yeah, what a great learning experience to recognize that, wow, we need to put these notes and these safeguards in place and create some frameworks for how we want everyone in our organization to communicate with the outside world. So what a wonderful way to standardize, especially when you're expanding, if you're an expansion team, the wheels can start to come off. Like things can start to get frayed on the edges when the team starts to expand. And what a great way to solidify how we do things around here and how we speak to people around here. I think that's so fantastic. And I think
Also,
that kind of, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say 10 years later, when that same client reaches back out to you and says, "Hey, Vanessa, I'd like you to sell my I want to move," you might say, "Who is this person? I don't remember anything about them." But if you leave some notes, the last time we spoke, their daughter was graduating, their mother had passed away, they have a dog, they're married, you can kind of, you know, just lead with that in your conversation. So it's a great tool.
Absolutely. So I think this is a good place to talk about the training and adaptation process. I think one of the great challenges of being an operations person on a real estate team is you're handed this project, right? Okay, update our database, or I want to change the database, go do it. And that's nice. But then you have to get everybody else on board. And there is this training and this process of adapting and getting used to the new way we do things. Talk about your experience getting everybody up to speed with everything you've implemented in the database.
Right. So what we talked about before, implementing one new thing at a time, was really essential for the core team members. I think also having one person manage the database is really important because that person is also in charge of changing the culture. So for example, when the agents ask me for an update on a file, I'll tell them, "Hey, go check follow up boss. Everything is there. Let me know if you have any questions after that." And then eventually they'll stop asking me. And
Hmm.
so, really having one person as the culture person and then implementing one thing at a time. I'll tell you a story about the calendar. So, our top agent was using an Outlook calendar that wasn't connected to an email. He was using a Gmail email, but he still had this floating Outlook calendar. And he wanted us to help him with his schedule, but we couldn't see it. It wasn't connected to anything. And he struggled so much with letting the calendar go. And
Hmm.
so one day he was out of the office. I went into his computer and I deleted the old calendar. And I
You
put,
are a brave woman.
I know, I put in all the appointments in the Gmail and I put, and the follow up boss. And he had so much anxiety and so much stress about the calendar. And he started to miss appointments and it was really affecting everything. And I told him, "You just have to trust the new system. I promise you, you'll get used to it. It will help us all help you schedule your clients efficiently. I'll be able to see where you are at all times. It will just help everyone." And finally, it was very slow. He did it. And, we have grown so much after that experience. So I know it's really hard. It takes a lot of patience and it can be very slow. So one new thing at a time is really important.
Beautiful. And I love, thank you for sharing that story. And oh man, yes, I understand. And I think that really demonstrates one of the things that makes you really good at your job is that leadership. We talk a lot about how administrators on teams really need to act as a leader. And in this case, you took somebody who was really resisting change and you were very gentle about it. And at the same time, you were firm and you said, "We're moving in this direction and I'm going to take you by the hand and this is where we're going. So let's go." And you got him there, but that takes some strength of character to kind of have that conversation with an agent.
Definitely, definitely. And he wasn't that happy about it, but he's very happy now. And I could see the future. He couldn't at that moment, but was going to be and how we all needed to be on board and how all businesses are going to grow. You have to think about, well, this is what's happening now. Is this what we're doing? Are our systems now going to help us grow or going to be efficient when we're doing double the business, triple the business? So you kind of have to think in this bit.
Absolutely. And how much easier if you just started this way, right? I mean, coming into this when you're already going a million miles an hour and then thinking about how you want to tag and organize people is hard. But that's why there are professionals out there that can help you with this. So you kind of have stepped up and offered some guidance and help. How do you help agents who want to get their database up to the level where yours is?
Well, first, if any agent needs help with their database, I always give them a third overview of how we've set up our business. And that's always free. It's just to give you ideas. And I'm always more than happy to teach you how to implement all of the ideas and a third party integration. And I'm always happy to help. And to take it a step further, some agents have asked me to set up their databases for them. And so, kind of on my own time as a side hustle, it started out really small, just with the clients in our coaching program. But now, clients all over reach out to me and ask me to help them set up their databases, which is great. So I do that for a fee on the side, and it kind of helps them just get going, right? It's not that it's hard to set up the database, it's just a bit of time and knowledge. And every agent is different, right? You have buyers, agents, listing agents, you have people that just do rentals, commercial real estate agents. And so we kind of try to, make the database work for their business.
Right. And your team is starting to collaborate with Kathleen Metcalf and Cambium. And so if they need to take it even a step further to start to develop those systems beyond just taking the system that they have and putting it in the database, we have even more resources. So like there is help out there. You can do this. There are people who are really good at this stuff who can make this happen. So I would say start by reaching out to Gabriela and get her guidance and support. And then we can all go from there. This is from where I sit as a recruiter. This is such an essential piece. It's so difficult to ask an admin to come into an office where they don't have access to the calendar or the email. The checklists are complete. And while you can hire an assistant who can implement these systems for you, those are your top tier people. And they have a lot of other things that they need to do. So best practice is to start working on this project before you hire so that that person can come into something that is more established and then they really can hit the ground running with all the other things that they need to do to support you. So thank you, Gabrielle, so much. This was so great. Thank you for giving us a peek inside your database. It's a privilege. And I hope that we're able to help some agents clean up this part of their business and solidify their foundation so that they can just enjoy the explosive growth that's waiting for them.
It was a pleasure. I am a total database nerd. So we could have really talked about this for weeks. But I'm glad I could just give you a little snippet of some things that we did that really were great for the business. But reach out if you have any questions or if you need any extra advice. Definitely.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
Yes. Bye now.